survivor gathering point was in the Eastern District, which was completely diagonal from where Wang Chung and the others were at the university and the shopping center. The city was large, meaning that the distance from their location to that gathering point was at least over 20 kilometers. Chapter 39. You are seeking death. Wang Chung did not respond immediately to Li Xinxing's invitation. He hesitated. Crossing almost the entire city to reach the gathering point with Li Xinxing was too dangerous. If they encountered other groups along the way, it might be manageable, but if they didn't, just the few of them, along with over 20 survivors, would make it seem more like a death march than a trip to a gathering point. This was a harsh reality. Even if they encountered military personnel, they could not guarantee them 100% safety. Perhaps for ordinary survivors, following a few warriors was better than trying to survive alone, but for Wang Chung and the others, who had a certain level of strength as survivors, relying on military forces was not meaningful for them. As the sky gradually darkened, Wang Chung contemplated for a while and ultimately decided to temporarily decline Li Xinxing's invitation. The risk was too great. Taking the chance to go now was not as good as staying here to continue developing cautiously. Once their capabilities increased, everything would be easier to handle. Li Xinxing felt regretful about Wang Cheng's decision but did not insist on keeping him. He also had his own thoughts. If Wang Chung and his group could act together with them, the safety of both their team and the survivors would greatly improve. However, it would also sacrifice the interests of Wang Chung and his two companions. Li Xinxing simply said, "If one day you arrive at the gathering point and need anything, feel free to come find me. Of course, if I happen to still be alive. However, I believe we will meet again." Wang Chung replied, "Definitely. I wish you good luck in reuniting with the main forces." As the night had not completely fallen, Wang Chung and the others set off again, preparing to return to the vicinity of the Pingsong market. They were already familiar with that area and could coordinate with Chunlan and the student council. And considering the unique nature of the underground parking lot, it was relatively safer, making it a suitable temporary stronghold. However, their return route was blocked by mutated entities. This was trouble Wang Chung had created himself, as he had attracted numerous mutated entities from the Pingsong market today, congesting the streets with a dense mass that made his scalp tingle. Wang Chung and his group had no choice but to take a detour, spreading out the map to find another small path to advance. The sky grew darker, the sun setting in the west, with half of the city bathed in neon light and the other half engulfed in shadows. A large number of mutated entities gathered on the main road, and as Wang Chung and the others took a detour, they encountered fewer mutated entities, but the surroundings became increasingly silent. Wang Chung shot at the mutated entities swaying on the road, the gunshots echoing between the buildings. Wang Chung continued to accelerate, leaving the gunfire and the startled monsters behind. The normal road back was only about 3 kilometers, but now the detour extended the distance to nearly 5 kilometers. Before the apocalypse, this distance was nothing in a developed transportation era, but during the apocalypse, no matter how fast Wang Chung went, it felt relatively slow compared to the past. At that moment, suddenly a figure appeared in the middle of the road ahead, stumbling and blocking the narrow street, shouting in terror, "Help me, help me." Seeing that figure, the expressions of Wang Chung and the others became somewhat strange. It was a beautiful woman, but she was barely clothed, wearing only an open beige long coat with nothing underneath. As the wind blew, her coat flapped open, revealing her shivering form. Her hair was messy, and she was somewhat dirty, but it couldn't hide her beauty. Sitting in the car, Zhang Chao stared blankly, his eyes involuntarily drawn to the swaying figure. Muttering, "What's going on?" Outside, the woman looked panicked, disregarding her exposed state, and rushed towards their car. "Help me. Please, save me. Let me in. I'll do anything. I can make you do anything." She seemed to have encountered some horror, terrified and desperate, just wanting to get away with Wang Chung and the others. Had she encountered monsters or humans? Su Xinghai frowned, wary of a trap. Wang Cheng's judgment was almost identical to Su Xinghai's. Although the thermal radar on the battleship did not detect any living beings nearby, the appearance of a woman running out desperately for help fell off. Although Wang Chung glanced a few more times, it was instinctive. He wasn't a saint, just a young man full of vigor. However, this did not mean Wang Chung would lose his mind. He immediately turned the car around, intending to pass by the woman without rolling down the window, coldly driving past her. The woman's face showed a moment of panic, but she quickly composed herself, acting as if she were in distress as she fell to the ground, pleading, "Don't abandon me." However, the next moment, her expression turned fierce. As the vehicle approached, she suddenly pulled out a handgun from behind her coat and fired at the window of the vehicle. If it had been a regular car, the glass would have shattered instantly and the occupants would have been shot. Su Xinghai was startled and instinctively ducked down to avoid the gunfire. But the car's window remained intact. The bullets struck the glass, leaving only a few white marks. It was bulletproof glass. Su Xinghai's eyes widened in surprise, while the woman seemed momentarily stunned. Yet her reaction was quick. Seeing that her shots had no effect, she jumped up and whistled sharply, running away with great speed. Her skin exposed, seemingly unconcerned and devoid of shame. Accompanying her whistle, the sound of roaring engines suddenly filled the air from all directions. Several motorcycles were racing toward them. A group of marauding bikers closing in. Wang Cheng and Su Xinghai's assessment was correct. There was indeed a trap. The woman was merely bait. If they had allowed her into the vehicle, she would have pulled out her hidden gun and opened fire inside, killing them all. If Wang Cheng and his group had been ordinary survivors, Su Xinghai, who had just been sitting in the passenger seat, might have already been shot dead. The bikers had been hiding at a distance, which was why Wang Cheng's radar hadn't detected them. Wang Cheng began to slow down as they were surrounded by the bikers. His gaze shifted around the vehicle. 8 motorcycles circled them, some riders armed with guns, others with machetes or similar weapons. The group consisted of young people dressed in flamboyant styles, led by a burly bald man with tattoos, who rode up to the woman and roughly pulled her onto his bike, openly groping her. The woman leaned against him like a rag doll, but spoke fiercely. "That car is bulletproof." "Bulletproof?" The bald man squinted, looking at Wang Cheng and the others inside the vehicle, barking, "Even bulletproof cars are made by that brand. Get out and hand over your supplies and vehicle. And I'll make it quick for you." The others joined in with shouts, "Get out! Get out! Hand over your stuff. Or we have ways to make you wish you were dead." They were clearly experienced in this, having likely deceived and slaughtered many survivors before, brimming with arrogance, demanding supplies and lives, leaving no one unharmed. Wang Cheng's expression darkened. These people are armed, and it seems like a showdown is imminent. Su Xinghai whispered, "Since we're bulletproof, why don't we just charge through?" Wang Cheng shook his head. Although his warship was tough, it was still of a low grade, and even its appearance resembled a shabby electric vehicle. It might be manageable to rush through the mutated beings, but charging through these thugs would lead to problems if they shot at the tires. Wang Cheng sneered, "We don't need to charge in. They're just a bunch of meatbags. We're sitting in the vehicle. Are we afraid of a confrontation with them?" He didn't roll down the window, switched off the soundproof mode of the warship, and shouted, "We have no grievances with you. You give us a choice, and I'll give you one too. Turn around and leave immediately, or I'll make it quick for you." Upon hearing this threat, the group was momentarily stunned, then burst into laughter, including the attractive female thug, who shook with laughter, her excess flesh jiggling. Were they joking? A battered vehicle, bulletproof. Could it be their opponent? They seemed to have been scared silly. Haha, boss, let us not waste time talking to these idiots. Let us take action, smash their tires, crush their vehicle bit by bit, and then drag that guy out to break his spine piece by piece. Let us see if he can still be so arrogant then. Wang Cheng's gaze grew colder at this. He hadn't wanted to waste ammunition, but now, with no words left to say, he was ready to act. As darkness fell, Wang Cheng didn't want to waste time. He pressed the weapon module button, grasped the joystick, turned the vehicle towards the bald man at the forefront, and coldly said, "You're seeking death." In the next moment, the ship's machine gun module extended, and fire opened instantly. Chapter 40. The bird's nest on the streetlight. "You're seeking death." The bald man found this statement amusing. He guessed that the 3 people in the vehicle might also be armed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so arrogant. But what could having guns do? Over a week had passed since the apocalypse began, and the bald man had been rampaging with his crew, even taking down a few armed police officers to acquire their weapons. These ordinary people, driving a ridiculous bulletproof mini-electric vehicle, what could they do with guns? Their motorcycles were speeding up. Even with guns, they couldn't hit them. Moreover, there were 9 of them against 3. Even if they had guns, they would be shot down in a hail of bullets. The bald man and his crew were actually acquainted before the apocalypse. Part of a small motorcycle team from Haicheng University, performing occasionally and engaging in some unsavory activities. Before the end of the world, he had already injured others. And with the apocalypse here, the bald man felt it was their time to shine. They had vehicles and manpower. In this era, weren't they free to do as they pleased? Ordinary survivors stood no chance against them. Such thoughts echoed in the minds of the other motorcycle thugs as well. Their arrogance came from their character and the confidence gained from slaughtering numerous survivors in recent days. They never thought that Wang Cheng and his team had the ability to confront them. The woman even leaned close to the bald man's back, whispering softly, "I want that person's eyes. Kill him and dig them out for me, okay?" This group exhibited their cruel and bloodthirsty nature in the apocalypse. However, in the next moment, the faces of the bald man and his companions changed dramatically. They realized they had completely misjudged the situation, because in front of them, that seemingly ridiculous little wooling car had unexpectedly revealed a dark cannon barrel from one side, rising up like a weapon system from a fighter jet. Then, it opened fire madly. Wang Cheng pressed the trigger directly inside the car, while simultaneously turning the steering wheel. The wooling battle vehicle swung its head wildly in place, with the weapon module that had merged with the vehicle unleashing a furious barrage. Although the power of the rifle had not increased and remained at a 7.62 mm caliber, The ammunition capacity had significantly improved. After